Right, so we're going to get on with the breaks and blocks part then, okay? So what is breaks and blocks? Well, breaks and blocks is all about hitting the music, and when the music stops, that's when you stop as well, okay? So I'm just going to get my other laptop set up very quickly, which I'll be honest, I meant to do beforehand. But there's lots of different things in the music, as you will hear in the music, okay? So what tends to happen is that the music will stop, and then you need to stop as well, or you can kind of crash over the top of it and it doesn't look quite so good. Okay, so what we're looking for is always making sure that when the music stops, you stop as well. Excuse me 1 second while I get that plugged in. There we go. Okay, so lots of different examples of this that we have. We use quite often what we call a traffic light system in classes. So when we talk about that, we talk about red being stop, amber being prepared to go or do something, and then we're looking for green, okay, which is then when you go again. So if I play the classic track that we often use, okay, which is called Wade in the Water, okay, hopefully you'll be able to hear in a second. Okay, and it's a very solid song, and it keeps going and keeps going and keeps going, and every 32 counts it will have a break, okay, which is this one coming up here. Okay, and then it carries on. Okay, so that's what we're generally looking to do. Okay, and so all of the time we're listening to the music, and at some point the music will stop, and then you can carry on. Hello, Jay Bullock. Okay, and here it goes again. So we go red, amber, prepare to go, and then green, we go. Okay, and that's the basic principle, and it's very easy on a song like that when you have a set amount of counts each time, and every 32 counts it will stop. However, most songs aren't like that. We do have other songs that we use as training ones. So another one, for instance, on that one would be, if I type it in, that one there. Okay, so again, this has a very set count, and every 32 counts again has that break in it. And the break is basically where you stop. And I'll count you in. 5, 6, 7, 8, and freeze. Prepare to go. And then go. And again, this is very obvious, this particular song, where you hit the brakes, right? But again, not every break is going to be that obvious or that easy to do. Okay, so question I asked somebody the other day, we've talked a few times recently at the classes, is I asked the demos, whose responsibility is it for the break? How do you know when a break's coming up? What do you do as a follow when a break's coming up? And I had a variety of different responses given to me. One was that, ready for demo time, okay? One was that as I stepped back, I would hold my arm out, and I'd lock my arm out, or I'd freeze my position, or I'd just kind of look in a certain way at my partner. And the answer is very simply, it's both of your responsibilities to do it. So ladies, you're as responsible for your half of the dance as the man is for his half of the dance. When I'm dancing the follow part and I hear the break coming up, if the man hasn't heard the break coming up, I don't really care. I let him do whatever he thinks he's going to do, but I will sabotage that part, and I will hit the break and I'll freeze at that stage. I'll then do my classic man wiggling badly as a follow, and then I'll go again when the traffic light says green. Okay, so it's both of your responsibilities, and it's all about listening to the music. So when the music stops, you stop. I was talking to my daughter Eva about it, and I like it too, Mandy. Okay, and I explained to her what we were doing. She was coming along to our class night at Bradford Avon, and she said, so basically it's musical statues then? And I was like, kind of it is to some degree. Yeah, when they hear the music stop, then you stop. It's a game we play when we're children, and yet as we become adults, we're thinking about what moves we're doing, we then kind of forget about actually listening to the music. So yeah, it's all about listening to the music and then acting upon it. Okay, so some of them are really obvious breaks, as we've had there. Okay, so again, I'll play this track. It carries on, and then you have to think, right, the music's going to stop, and then we go, and freeze. Okay. And then we prepare, and then go again. Okay, now, that's very easy. However, we've got moves that we generally do. So we've got lots of different principles behind how we hit those breaks. Okay, so the first principle is, of course, listening to the music is the key one, okay? But the first principle is that what we're looking to do is stop wherever you are in a piece of music, or wherever you are in a move, okay? So imagine that I'm dancing away, I'm just doing a basic step to start with, and I'm listening, I'm thinking, right, when's the music going to stop? And doing a high first. I'm in the middle of a move, and freeze. So I freeze in the middle of a move, and then we can go again. Okay, so that's the first theory behind it. So wherever you are in a particular move, you can stop. Okay, so that's the first principle behind it. Okay, the second principle is to extend a move. Okay, and again, I've used this as a demonstration. Apologies to all demos who I do this to, by the way. Okay, but if you think to yourself, right, I'm going to freeze after a turn. Okay, so you think to yourself, right, here's the break. Oh no, oh no, oh no, there it is. Okay, so on that occasion, I did 3 turns to get into the break. Okay, however, sometimes you're there and you think, oh, the break's just about to happen. I'm too late for it. Okay, so therefore, what can you do? Of course, we'll go the other way. You will then shorten whatever move that you would do. Okay, so a classic one of that, for instance, is doing a sway. Okay, so a normal sway, you'd step back, you'd wrap in, and then you'd step back. Okay, it's a classic way of doing it. So you'd have 1 beat, 2 beats, step back on beat number 3. However, if the music was going on, okay, you think to yourself, right, I'm going to do my sway, and you think to yourself, I'm a bit late into this, so therefore you would step back, hopefully I get it right, so in, back, and freeze. So you'd shorten the move. Okay, so rather than stepping in and then swaying back and hitting the break there, you would simply step forwards and hold that position, so you would freeze at that stage there. Okay, so that's the other way in which you can do it. So sometimes you'll extend it to get into the break, other times you'll shorten the move, whatever it may be, to then hit that break at that stage there. Okay, so that's the kind of obvious ways of doing it. Okay, now the hard part as a man is that obviously you may have moves in your head that you're thinking, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, but at the same time, the music stops and you think, well, I'm kind of not quite in the right place. So the other way of doing it is, and this is the hardest part really, is that what you've got to do is work your way backwards. Okay, so if you know a move is 8 beats long, for instance, okay, so let's use a sway, for instance, which is going to go 1, it's not 8 beats, by the way, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, okay, so therefore, what you ideally need to do, no idea if this will work, okay, is work backwards 5 beats from where you know the break's going to be, okay, so I'm counting here, so I know it's been 5 beats, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so I knew that 5 beats before I hit that 1, I'm going to actually be starting off that move. Obviously, it then needs to know how long each move is to then be able to hit that 1. However, as I mentioned a minute ago, sometimes you can extend the moves, sometimes you can shorten them, and other times, of course, you can just stop halfway through. Okay. Now, the other way in which we can do dips, or we can do breaks, is with doing dips and drops or leans. Okay, so again, if we talk about doing a comb lean, for instance, as I'm doing a comb lean, take the hand over the top and do the lean and then stand back up. Okay, now this gives you other opportunities on how to actually hit the break. So I could hit the break as I get to that part there. I could hit the break as I hit that part there, or on that bit there. So you've got 3 opportunities to hit that break, okay? And again, of course, if you wanted to, you could extend out by putting a few extra turns in before you go into the comb lean at that stage, okay? So lots of different ways of hitting that. And again, the same principle if we do a normal high first seducer, you bring your partner in, again, you could freeze there, you could hold that position as you freeze there, or as you're coming back up, again, you could hit that break and hit the accent at that point there, okay? So that's kind of when lots of different techniques there on how to do it and lots of different ways. So with just recapping very quickly for you on that. So we've got stop at any point in the move, extending out moves, shortening moves, or doing dips and drops or leans where you're then actually going to hit the break, but you give different options within those moves of hitting those breaks, okay? Now, you'll be saying to yourselves, that all works well if you know the music. And yes, if you know the music, obviously that does make it much, much easier to do. Okay, but there's lots of songs that have lots of obvious breaks. Again, we've used this one recently in actual classes, and this has 1,000,001 breaks in it. So if I play this track to you, it stops about 4,000 times in it. 5, 6, 7, 8, freeze. And again, it kind of has this repeating pattern going over, and what you've got to do is change the mindset to listen to the music and not think, oh, I'm going to do X, X, Y, or Z move next. Okay, so that's kind of the obvious ways. Again, we've got very obvious breaks here, and it freezes. Okay, doesn't always keep that same pattern on that particular track. Okay, we have, again, more subtle breaks in there as well. Okay, so for instance, we have what are called accents as well, which aren't fully breaks. The music's not necessarily stopping, but you're actually hitting accents in the music. Okay, so No Roots by Alice Merton, this particular track. Excuse me. Okay, so this has lots of different bits and pieces that go on throughout the whole thing, and you a break in the music, but it can be a crescendo in the music, for instance. Okay, so that's another way of doing a dip, not a day breaks or a blocks. Okay, now the obvious one that again I've used in classes happens at I think about 1:33 through it. I've seen it done lots and lots of times, and that is The Wonderful World of Uptown Funk. Okay, I shall play it to you. It has a very obvious moment in it. Yes, the most overplayed song in the world. Okay, but still fun to dance to, and you'll know this song, so therefore it becomes a bit easier to hit this break and actually tells you what to do. Okay, so have a listen to it. Okay, so obvious joke, right? So it even tells you to stop, wait a minute, and then you can carry on after that. Okay, so that's again a really obvious break in that particular piece of music. Okay, other ones aren't quite so obvious, you're therefore having to concentrate more. But if you take anything away from all of this, the whole point of it is that you're looking to dance to the music, not think about what moves you're doing, and allocate what moves you're doing to the music is the basic principle behind it. Anyway, that's enough of me talking for today, a nice short one for once. Okay, so next month it'll be first Friday of the month as usual, and I hope to see you again soon. Don't forget, on my YouTube channel, Richard Beauvoisin, please do feel free to subscribe. We're now up to at least double figures, which is lovely, and it'll be available as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify later on today. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you very much.